It's round 10 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, and we are in the deserts of Africa, in Marrakesh, for what is going to be a fascinating 2 days of action here for the 2022 Marrakesh E-Prix. A very good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this Friday evening first free practice session. A little bit of a rarity. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on, but this is where we are at in the championship. Round 10 coming up tomorrow. Then it's a doubleheader in New York City, a doubleheader in London, and a doubleheader in Seoul in South Korea to round off the championship. As you can see, Mitch Evans may be the man in form, winning the last race in Jakarta after winning the doubleheader in Rome. De Vries, Mortara, Verlaine, and Van Dorn, all race winners as well so far this season. And there is Stoffel Van Dorn. He is the championship leader coming into this race. He's 5 points clear of Jean-Eric Verne. There's his teammate, Antonio Felix da Costa, who won the last race here in Marrakesh in Season 6. Mitch Evans, winner of the last race in Jakarta. He's just 12 points off Van Dorn in the championship lead, even though he's down in 4th in the standings. Eduardo Mortara has finished 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the last 3 E-Prix. Jean-Eric Verne is Stoffel Van Dorn's closest challenger. These are how the points are coming into this 10th round of the season. Van Dorn at the top on 121. The top 4 really breaking clear now. Robin Freins was kind of in the title fight a few races ago, but a poor run of form from the Dutchman means he is not really in the fray. Reigning champion Nick de Vries also pretty much eliminated from the running, and what could have been for the Porsches after such strong performances in various races, but not getting the points on the board that they need to really challenge for the championship. And it's just the 2 Dragon Penske Autosport drivers that have failed to pick up a point so far this season. Sergio Sede Camera and Antonio Giovinazzi both down at the bottom of the standings on 0 points. And as a result, Dragon Penske Autosport are at the bottom of the team's standings. Neo 333 have picked up 7 points. Mahindra and Nissan with 12 points apiece. But up at the top, the championship fight is very, very interesting indeed. Mercedes EQ are 16 points ahead of Fiesta Cheetah, but Venturi and Jaguar are in the fight as well. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me is the 3-time Le Mans winner and former Audi team principal, Alan McNish. Great to have you here, Alan. And this is the Marrakesh circuit.
Yeah, it is. It's a permanent circuit. When we first came here, it was the first real permanent circuit I think Formula E raced on. But ultimately, it's got 3 main sectors. You go past turn 1, then the long swooping turn 2 into the attack mode at turn 3. Very high speed section. Then a really tight chicane at 4, 5 and 6. That's the end of sector 1. Long straight down into a kink round about the hotel. Very tricky braking into 7 and braking into 10 before an acceleration up to the second last corner. An overtaking opportunity, especially the last lap through 12, and then that's 1 lap of Marrakesh, 2.9 kilometers.
Yeah, 12 corners around this circuit. This is the 5th time that Formula E has raced in Marrakesh, and it is a beautiful, clear blue sky. And the interesting thing for this session is we are exactly 24 hours ahead of the race starting. Well, 24 hours and 4 minutes ahead of the race starting. So with the air temperature at 31 degrees and the track temperature at 51 degrees, there's going to be a lot of learning in this next half hour about the race tomorrow. Yeah,
it's certainly going to be more significant, I would say, than free practice 2 tomorrow. And especially all of the data that the teams have gained from previous years. This is the 5th time we've been here in Marrakesh, but that's always been in January and February. It's always been when the air temperature's been 20 with a chilly wind coming in off the mountains, and it's been a track temperature about 30 degrees. So I think there's going to be venturing into the unknown and trying to understand how they're going to manage all of these temperature issues for the car, for the tyres, and also for the cockpit drivers.
Yeah, there is Stoffel Van Dorn, the championship leader, 5 points ahead of Jean-Eric Verne, and then it's 2 points back to Eduardo Mortara in the Rocket Venturi car, who's about to pull out onto the circuit, and we will see all of the drivers pile out as soon as the light goes green at the end of the pit lane. And out they go. Although the Mercedes drivers deciding to stay in, maybe waiting for the track to clear up a bit. Because although it's a permanent facility, Alan, it doesn't get used a huge amount.
Well, it hasn't been used since the last time we were here, which was in 2020, which is pre-COVID time. So think back to that sort of time, and that's the last racing cars that were on this circuit. And I think they are doing exactly that. Just let someone else sweep it up. They'll probably do about 20 laps through this free practice session, but it doesn't really matter when you do them. The important thing is to get the data out of it, the information.
You can see the straight road, the start-finish road on the left-hand side, then you follow that all the way down and you end up with the Kutubia Tower in the heart of the city. That's attack mode on the outside of turn 3. That's going to be quite dirty, I think, in these early stages as well.
It'll be very dirty, so I'd expect in the race the first people to go through there will actually lose more time than they would later on. So you won't want to be the first car to take the attack mode, but at the same time, it always has thrown up good overtaking opportunities immediately back into this tight chicane where you have to clump both of the curbs very aggressively before accelerating out onto the back straight.
Yeah, that's through 4, 5 and 6, and then we've got, well, two Andretti's right together coming into turn 7. Always gives me a bit of a flashback to season 5 when Antonio Felix da Costa and Alexander Sims collided there in their fight over the lead of the race. And then we wind our way back out now around towards the left-hand ear of turn 10, and then the long back straight up towards turn 11, which is where Jake Dennis and Oliver Askew are heading now. And that is the left-hander there. And then we come back out across the start line. The two Jaguars are first across the line. Sam Bird running ahead of Mitch Evans. And that hasn't happened too often this season. It's been a very strong year. That's so sandy. I mean, we are in the desert. It's to be expected, but that's egregious, that dirt.
Yeah, they've washed the circuit as much as they can, but the wind that's picked up, it's just thrown all the sand and dust back onto it. And the cars will clean it up quicker than anything else. However, it means that this is going to be an evolving circuit, so the first lap times that we see are going to be significantly slower than they will be at the end of this session.
How long into the session do you have to sort of wait before making any major setup changes and things like that? Because here's Scott Elkins. So Scott Elkins practicing the full course yellow, but yeah, because the track's changing, you've got to try and target what the track's going to be like, right?
Yes, it's prediction, and that's one of the things that you will gain on previous experience of how the circuit evolved at times through the course of the weekend. But right now, you just want to follow the track more than necessarily predict it.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
So full course yellow ends. Mitch Evans gets back up to full speed, not running at 50 kilometers an hour anymore for Evans, who, despite his strong run of form, actually, he was third on the grid in Jakarta, but the two races in Berlin, he was 9th and 10th. Jaguar really struggling there. And here is Nick Cassidy in the Envision. Hasn't scored points since his 7th place finish in Monaco. Sylvain Philippi, the team principal, but Envision have gone well here historically.
Yeah, they have, actually. They were our customer team when I was at Audi and team principal there, and they were, in general, I have to say, quicker than we were as the factory team. And they have got that capability. They had a very difficult time in Jakarta, real struggle, and they'll be looking to try to get, especially Robin Frinz's championship, back on track a little bit with a good result round here. Yeah,
Frantz in 5th in the championship standings, hasn't won a race so far this season, despite 2 second-place finishes. The same is true, actually, of Jean-Eric Verne. Frantz is the second car in this queue, as the back end steps out a little bit, coming into 4, 5 and 6. And Frantz gets on his way, chasing his teammate Cassidy as they come down towards the left-hand. A difficult season so far for Cassidy, as I say. Not a huge amount of points on the board, down in 13th in the standings, after what was actually quite an impressive rookie season. It wasn't quite Jake Dennis style, but a couple of poles and some good results.
Yeah, it was a very good rookie season. I thought that he got to grips with the car, which, we have to be honest, this is quite a unique race series, and you saw there Robin Frantz just coming in, locking up and then sliding wide, and so dropping time. But I thought Nick Cassidy had a very strong year, but it's been difficult to convert it into a good second year, which I have to say, is not unique in that. There's been a few drivers that have had a good first year. Jake Dennis was supremely strong last year, and he hasn't been able to, with Andretti as a team, find that same sort of level of performance consistently as he did in season 7.
Yep, Frantz across the line and into the first corner once more. You can see visibly how it's still sandy there, but less so than previously. As you say, Robin Frantz second in the race here a couple of years ago, back in season 5, was second on the grid for the second race in Berlin, but the race after that he was 21st on the grid. The race before that in Berlin he was 20th, and before that he hadn't been off, he hadn't failed to make it through to the duels. So it's basically the last 3 races are where Frantz's season has disappeared, basically.
Disappeared, but it's certainly not over. He's 5th in the championship. He's losing touch, so he does need to have a good race weekend here to keep in touch with the top 4 ahead, because you've kind of got to say if he doesn't have a strong one here, then he will be out of the run into the final races of the season in Seoul. And so in that respect, it's an important one for the team and also for him. But, you know, we know Robin Frantz, he's very experienced in this, and he gets... This is probably actually a good scenario for him, because he just runs on pure instinct and throws the car around. He generates the tyre grip, as opposed to necessarily waits on it for coming to him.
He says he doesn't use reference points for braking, like brake markers and reference, but he says, nah, and I just... Every lap, every corner, he just kind of makes it up. That's quite rare, isn't it?
I don't think he makes it up. Wouldn't say it's kind of making it up, but he definitely doesn't have prescribed, I would say, a standard way of doing things. He's not one that would learn as much maybe from the simulator as a lot of other drivers, and he runs on feel and instinct, so his feedback from his feet and his hands is just sensational. As here we've got Maxi Günther coming in.
Back end stepping out, just locking the rears, I guess, on the dirty stuff, and then you're on the more dirty stuff on the outside of the corner.
Change of tyres there for Jaguar.
We don't. It's difficult to kind of follow it over the course of the weekend, and everybody's trying to do the same or similar thing. But the tyres are so crucial in Formula E this weekend and this season, and especially with the sets you have.
Well, you're allowed 2 sets of tyres for the weekend, which is actually 2 tyres, so half a set more than last year. But the reason for that is that at 220 kilowatts of power, so there's more energy going through those rear tyres. So Michelin have agreed, as we see some more big power oversteer moments there, they've agreed that actually that extra half set is a good thing. So now the teams are trying to prepare those to make sure they get the optimum mileage on them for qualifying and then into the race.
Mark Preston, the chairman now of DS Techeetah, watching Antonio Felix da Costa come to the left-hander. The win here in season 6 was the one that really kick-started his championship winning form. He won this race and then another 2 in the row, becoming only the 2nd Formula E driver to win 3 races in a row. He's currently at the top of the times as well, and done a fastest first sector of anybody. But although qualifying's gone quite well for da Costa in recent races, in fact he's the best qualifier. No, only Mortara has qualified better than da Costa over the last 3 E-Prix, 3rd, 5th and 2nd, but hasn't necessarily turned it into a huge haul of points. 3rd, 5th and 2nd, and he's finished 8th, 6th and 4th. No podiums yet so far this season for da Costa.
I thought it was going to be da Costa that won his the race in Jakarta, the way it started off, but ultimately both him and Jean-Eric Vergne weren't quite able to convert it into the victory that Mitch Evans, I would say, really grabbed and took for his own. But at the same time, Edo Mortara as well, at the end of the race, he seemed to get stronger than both of the DS's.
On board with Stoffel van Dorn in driver's eye, inside his helmet, coming up into turn 11, keeping to the outside of the Dragon car. Working hard as he comes into 12, the Envision going into the pit lane.
Yeah, but just look how much he's fighting with the steering wheel. Small adjustments there, but just going through the corner. It's not a smooth progression in towards the apex now at turn 1. Oversteer, then understeer, then a little bit of catch and oversteer on exit. There's a lot of action going on in the cockpit.
Very busy indeed. As Van Dorn now comes in towards turn 3. Again, the championship leader, his teammate Nick de Vries, the reigning champion, is 2nd quickest at the moment. but in the championship he is on 65 points, so pretty much half the points of Stoffel van Dorn. So and that retirement in the last race for De Vries really kind of not knocked him out of the running, but if the win in the second race in Berlin maybe gave him a glimmer of hope, a retirement didn't help. And actually there was if you're really interested, a correction to the results after the last race in Jakarta, because De Vries initially got contact with, got hit from behind by Andre Lotterer, which he thought gave him a puncture. The team Lotterer was then able to prove, and they got a 5-second time penalty. He was then able to prove that De Vries already had the puncture, and that's why he braked so much earlier, and that's why Lotterer hit the back of him, so the stewards rescinded Lotterer's 5-second time penalty. So in the end, he finished 9th, and it meant that Sebastian Buemi didn't pick up a point for 10th place, because he then finished in 11th position. So there's a bit of housekeeping for you. Evans has now gone to the top of the times in these very early stages. Verne's on a quick lap, but the lap times are just going to get better and better for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, the lap times are 3 seconds off what they were here when we came in season 6 at the end of FP1. So in that respect there, the circuit is in no real condition. They will just get quicker and quicker. It'll be interesting though, Jack, to see where they are relative to that season 6, because the circuit was much cooler, the air was much cooler, and if you remember, it was at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it looked like it was dark.
Yeah, yeah, it was really dark out there and really cold. In fact, I remember a lot of team radio from Robin Freitz complaining about it being cold in the car, and Chris Gorn, who was then the technical director, had to get on the radio and tell Robin to basically just shut up and drive. What else do you expect me to do? Pascal Wehrlein, 11th currently, 8th place in Jakarta, and Porsche either tend to be at the front challenging for a win, or 7th, 8th, 9th. There doesn't seem to be much of a middle ground quite often.
Yeah, they're very good on certain circuits, like Mexico, where they had their breakthrough win, Pascal Wehrlein, and also Andre Lotterer was very strong, and then in Monaco. Those are circuits where they have been good, but they aren't able to keep that consistency of high-level pace everywhere else.
On board with Lucas de Grassi as the Brazilian in the Rocket Venturi comes down in towards turn 3, and he's currently 3rd quickest, 7/10 away from Jean-Eric Verne, and as you can hear, he's doing a little bit of lifting and coasting into the corners.
Yeah, you would, at this moment in time, with the way the circuit is, you would just be looking at your race runs, your energy management runs. Certainly performance will just come from circuit evolution as opposed to anything you would do with the car right at this stage in time, and so you use the time to your best availability. Very close to the walls through here, and it's so easy to touch the walls in this section, and if you do get a side-to-side impact, you can also damage the drive shaft and gearbox. So we've seen a few people tapping that wall just on the right-hand side out of turn 10 and requiring a gearbox change before the qualifying of the race.
De Grassi now coming into turn 11. Again, they really attack the curbs around here, and is this wondered if he was going to go back to the pit lane there, De Grassi, but he stays out. Verne is now quickest for what it's worth, 700ths quicker than Wehrlein. Evans 3rd, De Grassi remains 4th, with Van Dorn, De Vries, Bird, Seze, Camera, De Costa and Roland the rest of the top 10. There is the tower down in the centre of Marrakesh, the Kutubiyya Mosque, built in 1158. That's 77 meters tall, that tower. 16 minutes on the clock. Jean-Eric Verne quickest on a 1 minute 20.155 at the moment. 2nd in the championship. No wins this season. 5 podium finishes, 3 second place finishes, no victories. Is that something that would bother a driver, or not really, because you've still got the points, you're still there in the championship fight?
You prefer to win the races, there's no question about it, but if you're in the championship fight by not winning the races and being consistent, then you still take it if it takes you to the title at the end of the year. And I think there does become a point when you have to deliver a victory to get those extra 7 points, because it is going to be so tight at the front. Yeah. And so I think there's a mix, and if I look at it, there's 2 drivers that are very, very consistent, and it is Jean-Eric Verne and also Stoffel van Dorn. Then you've got Mitch Evans, who either wins or does nothing.
Yeah.
It's 10th or 1st. and then Edo Mortara with the 2 DNFs, the only driver in the top 5 to have any did not finishes, and he had 2 of them back to back, which has stifled his charge. But I think it really does come down to those 4 when we're looking towards the end of this season in Seoul.
Yeah, Mortara actually has a better average finishing position than Van Dorn and Verne, but he didn't finish 2 of the races, so that doesn't really count for anything particularly. But Verne and Van Dorn both have an average of finishing about 4th. I think it's 4.3 and 4.4, whereas Evans, his average finishing position is 7.7. Here comes Da Costa. There comes Verne through the final corner, and here's Da Costa, sorry, in the DS Techeetah. He is in full power by the looks of things. He's almost 4 tenths up after the middle sector, and he goes quickest, a 1 minute 19.505, 6 tenths quicker than his teammate, as Oliver Turvey comes across the line down into the first corner.
Just a few cars have done the 250.
Turvey, super hot.
Turvey closing. Copy, good.
Did he say my brakes are super hot or my tyres are super hot?
Tyres are super hot, and you know, I remember the comments after the first lap of the race in season 6, and the comments were already the tyres have overheated after lap 1, and so it's going to be a very difficult thing to manage, even in qualifying, when you're only going out in the dual stages to try to be able to manage your tyre temperatures.
Oliver Turvey was very pleased with his race in Jakarta, finished 12th, which didn't give him any points, but in a clean race, you know, no safety cars, or maybe there was one in the early stages when Oliver Rowland retired, but broadly, there's a lock-up from Turvey coming into turn 10, but he said, yeah, we actually made progress during the course of the E-Prix, which is quite rare for the Neo team, so he was very positive, and this lap's all right as well. He's on full power, 500ths away, and he actually said in Jakarta and Berlin, he said on both occasions he's been only a 10th away from getting into the duels, which again he was pretty pleased with. So quite a positive Turvey as he goes second quickest, less than a 10th away from Da Costa. But I think that Neo are going to have their work cut out as far as the race is concerned this weekend, because track position is not vital here.
I think as we see, I'm sure this is the big lock-up down at turn 10, which lost him a lot of time because it lost him the momentum through the corner, but also then carrying that momentum all the way down the next straight. And he was quickest in the first sector, though, as now we're on with Mitch Evans, the only 3-time winner this season, and the winner last time out in Jakarta. Now, Jaguar historically have not liked the longer, faster corners that this first part of the circuit is built up from. Normally they prefer tight, twisty hairpins, like in Rome or a lot of the sections in Jakarta. But funnily enough, they've been quick round here in the previous occasions. In season 5 and season 6, they were pretty quick and competitive. So I think Evans is definitely going to be in the mix round about this one tomorrow afternoon.
Now, I've just asked Andretti what's going on with Jake Dennis, because he has done 2 laps, so basically, and it seems like they're 2 installs, and then hasn't set a lap time. So everybody else has done at least 7 or 8 laps, whereas Dennis is basically not out at all. So trying to work out what the problem is there with the Andretti, because that's, I'd be very surprised if that was out of choice. So he's in the pit lane. That's why there's only 21 drivers on the tower on the left-hand side. Evans now coming into the final corner at turn 12 after the first 2 sectors. Evans, well, he's 4.3 seconds down, so he's on race runs at the moment. James Barkley, who we saw elated in the after the victory for Evans in Jakarta, now standing pensively at the back of the garage.
I think trying to keep cool, actually.
Yeah.
As you see, the garages are normally very, very cold round here because the wind blows through them, but I think it's the one area of respite from the temperatures that the drivers are having to deal with, and also have to say the marshals as well, who are going to be standing out there for a significant part of the day.
Here's Oliver Askew, the teammate to Jake Dennis at the Avalanche Andretti team. Only 2 points this season from his first actual race in Diriyah. He's finished 15th in 4 of the last 5 races as Oliver Askew. But there's no doubt that the Andretti are kind of the biggest surprises for me this year, because they had actual real pace last year. Dennis has had a few okay races. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but and I think the team have been a bit confused at times where, oh, and Askew's a bit frustrated here with Da Costa for not getting out of the way. Maybe in the way that he would have ideally liked. But yeah, the team were a bit perplexed, sort of in Berlin as well, where they ran quite well at the end of last season, but not this year.
Yeah, the cars are effectively the same. They've been homologated for 2 years, so you can't touch any of the real hardware. You've got to kind of hold on to it, as you see Stoffel van Dorn coming into turn 3, locking up the unloaded tyre. It was the outside tyre, but because he's turning right into that left-hander, then it's very easy to lock it up, as now he's starting his lap right now.
Turns it up to full power, and we go on driver's eye with Van Dorn coming down in towards turn 1.
Yeah, comes into 1. We saw a lot of action on the steering wheel, big understeer moment, but not a little bit of correction on the exit of 1, now going through, flat out right-hander through turn 2, and then leading into the left of 3. So you're braking one way and needing the car to go the other one. And he keeps close to that curb, runs it out to the right-hand side before the hard chicane. Look at the curbs here on the left as he tries to hit this curb hard, and then the right, and get smoothly onto the power. A little bit of a correction, and then down the back straight. Here takes a bit of a breath, bit of a lift, and then steals himself at a very, very quick entry into turn 7.
The 10th up on Da Costa in the first sector, quickest first sector of anybody. We'll get his second sector split in just a moment as he comes down towards the left-hander now of 10, sorry. Whoa, big slide on the exit too for Van Dorn. De Vries, his teammate, has gone quicker in the first sector. Van Dorn is 3 tenths up on Da Costa in the middle sector.
Yeah, he's in pretty good shape. Now he's got a clean run out to this final corner. I think this will take him to the top of the time. Circuit definitely will be quicker than when Da Costa did his lap, but it's a pretty good lap from Stoffel van Dorn.
1 minute 19.163 for the Belgian. Here comes De Vries through the middle sector now. Let's see what he's got. He's only 400ths up on his teammate. He's got Jean-Eric Vergne ahead of him, and he's had quite a big lockup, and that's his lap done.
And he was close to touching the tyre wall there, so that it was a lockup, but then it was a bit of a recovery not to hit the wall by Nick De Vries. But it looks like the Mercedes are very, very close together, both of the cars. Nick De Vries is another person that needs, as you said earlier on, from his championship point of view, a bit difficult, but here's his radio.
Multi-blue 3, map 9, multi-blue.
So just some instructions after completing his quick lap. Ian James, the Mercedes EQ team principal there, with his drivers in 1st and 5th currently. De Vries obviously didn't improve on that lap in the end.
Yeah, but 3rd and 4th, Turvey and Tictum in the Neos. So Turvey's time that we saw earlier on has been equalled by Dan Tictum, his teammate, and that's still in 3rd and 4th. Admittedly, we'll see in the next 6 minutes 40 seconds when people do go to the full power.
I don't quite remember, but I think it might have been Berlin free practice, and suddenly they were super quick in 7th or 8th positions. There is the 4th place man, Dan Tictum. I'm sure it was Berlin FP3 or something like that, and they were looking good.
Yeah, sometimes you get car circuit scenarios that work very well in low grip conditions at the beginning of a dusty session, and you think, yeah, brilliant, we're in it for the weekend, we're competitive. And then as the circuit evolves, you kind of stay at the same lap time and everybody else gets faster. And so there are these symptoms that just the general base setup concept to the car, or even suspension geometry, can actually help in these situations. And ultimately, when the grip builds up, then it goes away from you.
Here comes Max Günther, one of only 6 drivers not to have made it through into the qualifying duels so far this season. His teammate Sebastian Buemi did it for the first time in the last race. Edams have had a strong history here, a 1st and a 2nd place and a pole position with Buemi, but that was back in the season 2 and 3, I think all of those things happened, as Günther now comes into the left-hander of turn 3, his best qualifying so far this season. Max Günther, I've lost my piece of paper with it on. Oh, here it is. His best qualifying of the season so far this season, Max Günther. was 10th place in the first and third races of the season. He's been 15th, 13th, and 17th in the last three, and he's a quick guy over one lap, Gunther. We've seen pole positions from him before.
Yeah, he was quick when he came in and drove for Penske, if we remember correctly. He was super quick in quali. The pace wasn't quite there in the race, which was due to, I would say, the energy efficiency of the car. And same at BMW, very, very quick. But it's been, I would say, a difficult baptism, jumping teams and coming across to Nissan. At the same time, Nissan's having, I would say, an overall quite difficult time. Both Buemi and really right now, Gunther not, I would say, challenging the top 10 on any regular occasion.
Never actually had a pole position, Max Gunther, but he's had 4 front row starts. He's been second in qualifying on 4 occasions. He's won 3 races, so no doubting his pace. In fact, was fighting this man, Jean-Eric Vergne, for the win here a couple of years ago. And up at the front of the order, here comes Oliver Rowland now, who's done the fastest middle sector of anyone. In fact, he's identical on lap time to Stoffel Van Dorn after the first 2 sectors. Eduardo Mortara is about a quarter of a second up after sector 2 as well. Here comes Rowland in the Mahindra, and it's quickest for Rowland, a 1:19.104. Mahindra won here in season 5 with the now Venturi team principal Jerome D'Ambrosio.
Yeah, they've won here twice, and I saw Dilbag Gill, the team principal, and said, are we going to see the fez back on his head?
Oh, yeah.
Because he always brings out a fez, and so I'm sure he'll, if it stays basically like this, then he'll be quite confident to at least have the fez in the garage in preparation.
Felix Rosenqvist won for Mahindra a couple of years before that.
Dominated,
yeah.
Dominated. Not just won, but absolutely dominated this race.
So Mortara's gone to the top of the times. Lucas de Grassi, his teammate, is on full power and is 100th up on Mortara after the first sector. Will get his... Hey, back end's getting lively, front end's getting locked up.
Tricky combination there. If the rear's moving around and you press to try to get the thing stopped, and then you lock the front as well. But also Jean-Eric Vergne's just done a quicker first sector than anybody else, so it's getting a bit lively with just 3 minutes to go.
De Grassi a couple of tenths down now after that moment in the middle sector. Dennis still in the pits, by the way, and it is a powertrain issue that he has, Jake Dennis. And de Grassi is 3 tenths down, and Vergne is getting a bit of traffic here from the Neo. He's getting quite a bit of traffic, actually. He was 2 tenths up on Mortara after the middle sector. What does he have at the line? Vergne goes second quickest, so lost about 3 tenths in that final sector, potentially some of that with that traffic.
I would say definitely, yeah. He had a couple of tenths there. It compromised his entry to the corner, which compromised his exit as well. So not ideal. I think Jev would have been quickest there quite easily, and probably a 4:18.4. Just for reference, it was 17.8 was the quickest time in free practice 1 in season 6 at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Very cold morning.
Yeah. Well, practice 2 gets underway at 7:30 tomorrow morning as well, which, I mean, we are looking forward to it, but it's a bit much, isn't it? But it'll, yeah, 7:30 tomorrow morning will be free practice 2, but it'll be quite light by that point, because obviously we're much later in the year. It'll be quite warm as well. De Costa has turned it up to full power again. A minute and a half to go. That's Sam Bird, who's got Dan Ticktum coming right up behind him. I wasn't actually sure which Neo it was that got in the way of Jean-Eric Vergne a moment ago, but here comes Ticktum. What's he done after the first 2, say 7 tenths down, actually? So it's not gone well for Ticktum in the middle sector.
The first sector was 3 tenths off Mortara's quickest in that first part, which is the 3 fast corners, turn 1s, 2 and 3.
Ticktum remains in 11th place. Here we are with De Costa into the final corner, sends it in, and doesn't quite make the apex, oversteer on the exit, and he slots into 6th place. Mortara is improving again. Buemi, Freitz and Cassidy have all done quite good first sectors. Here is Eduardo Mortara. There's a yellow flag at turn 7. As Mortara, after he's backed off, I think, because he's 3 seconds away in the middle sector, so
that could be that turn 7 that's down at the bottom, and there's an escape road there, and so if you lock up, then it's better to go down the escape road. That's possibility of it, as we see Jerome D'Ambrosio, the winner of season 5 race here. Yep. which was a real scrap into the final corners, if you remember. There was about 4 or 5 cars.
Wasn't there a late safety car?
Late safety car, and then I think it was 2-lap dash to the end. Super race.
Yeah.
I think we could have something like that as well, this race, because this is a big energy race. You'll be conserving energy for that blast at the end.
Oh, a spin for Nick de Vries at the final corner. Has there been a collision with that Nissan, potentially? Because that Nissan is certainly crawling, and Evans has taken the checkered flag. No one's actually going to improve, I imagine, with de Vries still facing backwards.
So is the car still on?
Okay, guys, just be aware
If the car's okay,
on the pit
you
edge
join us,
and a
turn it around.
car driver's left at the exit of turn 12. Just be aware. Checker is out.
So that's Scott Elkins down the bottom there, informing everybody of the Nick de Vries. Oh yeah, look at the bodywork there at the back of the car. So it was with 22. So it was Gunter in the Nissan, and de Vries has managed to turn it around and get back into the pits. But that feels like a miscommunication at the final corner.
Gunter already in the pits. You see him there getting pulled back in, and there's 2 bits of bodywork there. So it'll be good to be able to see a replay of that. Hopefully we got it as the checkered flag flies.
Yeah, a bit of a curious incident. As you say, the checkered flag is out. Van Dorn comes across the line, and all those yellow flags at the end of... there we go. No, oh no, is it Buemi? It's Buemi, my apologies. So it's Buemi. I couldn't distinguish the 22 from the 23, but the front of the car is gone.
That's been in the tyre wall, so Buemi's nosed in somehow there.
Oh, it is a 23, look, it's a 23. It's a Nissan. Because that's why it is number 23, and I never knew that until a couple of years ago. In Japanese, 1, 2, 3 is Ich Nissan. So that's why they're 23, because it's Nissan.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's interesting. Anyway, this is a replay of something else that happened to Nick de Vries. This is coming down into the left-hander. That's a big lock-up from de Vries.
That was on his 250 lap.
Yeah.
Yes, it was on his 250 lap. He was up on his teammate up until this point, and that effectively lost it with... That was the second last corner he came into, Nick de Vries.
It doesn't look to be too much.
Yeah, because you had a Mahindra. What was it, Mahindra in front of you? Yeah, you had nowhere to go.
Okay, so de Vries being told, you had nowhere to go.
Yeah, you got time there.
And now he wants to know whether he can get changed. But, well... So we think that Buemi and de Vries have come together there at the final corner. Certainly Buemi's come together with something or someone. But checker flag is out. Mortara quickest, Verne second, de Grassi third. But as I say, so many of those lap times are... Well, so many potential lap times never happen. Nick Cassidy has the fastest first sector, for example, but is 19th. Whee, there's a lock-up from Da Costa coming into turn 1. I was about to say, how valuable are these practice starts? And Da Costa will have learned something just then.
Well, I think the valuable part is to understand you need to be pushing yourself to the inside, because you can't afford to try and run round the outside. It's just so dirty.
Someone tried to do it a few years ago and got well out of shape, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it was Lucas.
Was it Lucas?
Sorry, yes.
I apologise. Sorry.
And there was a little bit of a commotion in the mid-pack of it all.
Yeah.
But the fact is, this corner as well flows away from you, so it's dusty now, and also it's adverse camber, and I think you really need to hog the inside as much as you can.
There is Alexander Sims about to do a practice start alongside Stoffel Van Dorn. Do you have a particularly clean or dirty side of the grid here, or not so much because you're coming back across it?
Yeah, it depends where you are on the grid.
Right.
If you're at the front, then it is actually right in the middle, where you would cross between the left-hand side coming out of the final corner into the first corner braking area.
So there's a couple more practice starts coming in at the end of the first free practice session here in Marrakesh. Away goes Sete Camera and Roland, and then the two Envision cars about to do a practice start as well. Roland ending that session 5th quickest, which was not too bad. Here's a look at the results at the end of the first free practice session. Eduardo Mortara quickest at 1 minute 18.6, the man who is 3rd in the championship, getting his weekend off to a good start. Jean-Eric Verne 2nd in the championship, and he's there in 2nd place. Lucas de Grassi with a strong run for the Rocket Venturi team. Lotter at 4th quickest. Good stuff from Oliver Roland in 5th for Mahindra. The two Dragons, Sergio Sedicamera and Antonio Giovinazzi, both inside the top 10. Jake Dennis not setting a lap time because of a problem with the car. Sam Bird 2 seconds off the pace, but presumably he got caught out by yellow flags towards the end of that session. We certainly know Nick Cassidy was going to be going quicker than that before he came across a yellow flag. So, a beautiful look at Marrakesh. And we will be back 7:30 tomorrow morning for free practice 2. The race gets underway in 23.5 hours time. Now this is what happened with De Vries and Buemi. Look right at the top. Oh, so I think they must have come together on entry or something?
They've came together on entry. If you look at it, the nose was very damaged and it was right on the tip of the nose of Buemi's car when he was pulled back in. And so it looks as if De Vries has been braking and attacked by Buemi, I would have said, as a general point. How they got there, I don't know.
No.
But certainly I would say it looks like Nick was more the innocent party in this particular miscommunication.
Joseph Rocker and Mitch Evans walking back down to get Wade, having a little bit of a chat.
Yeah, driver be Wade, very critical just to keep control over that, because obviously it relates to the car weight as well.
Dan Ticktum ending the session 12th quickest. Jean-Eric Verne finishing it 2nd quickest, just under 2 tenths away from Mortara. Had the fastest middle sector, was 4 tenths away in the end in the final sector when the yellow flags were out. But I think that'll be a satisfying moment for the DS Cheetahs, who've had good qualifying pace so far this season. In fact, a front row lockout last time out in Jakarta. But don't forget, you can get involved in as well in the action. The top 5 drivers all receiving Fanboost, where they will get an extra boost of power in the second half of the race, up to 250 kilowatts. And you can vote online at fiaformulae.com/fanboost. You're limited to 1 vote per day, or you can scan the QR code in the bottom right. Van Dorn and Da Costa naturally up there, but Mortara's doing well. I don't remember Mortara getting a huge amount of fan boost this year. In fact, he hasn't had a fan boost all season, Eduardo Mortara. So there we go. He's lurking there in 3rd, Lucas de Grassi 4th, and Mitch Evans in 5th position at the moment, as Jake Dennis and Andre Lotterer have a bit of a laugh. So, first practice session for the Marrakesh E-Prix got underway, the 10th round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Mitch Evans, winner of the last race in Jakarta, getting strapped in and ready to go. Jean-Eric Verne, 2nd in the standings, 2nd in the last race. And the Mercedes EQs and the DS Cheetahs, neither of them going out at the start of the session, allowing others to sweep the track a little first, because it was very dusty and sandy in the early stages of the half-hour session. Big moment for Max Gunther coming into turn 1, back end stepping out on the German, but he managed to recover it and keep it all together. Eduardo Mortara blowing the sand up against the wall. This is how much they're attacking the curves down at turns 4, 5 and 6. Sam Bird getting all over them on the right-hand side. Oliver Turvey had a big lock-up at turn 10. Locked both the fronts, I think, there, coming into that left-hander. Also a bit of a lock-up also for Nick Cassidy, I think that was, in the Envision. And then Nick De Vries was pushing. It was at 250 kilowatts when he just went in a little bit too hot. Whoa, look at that one from Eduardo Mortara. That's 10 out of 10 for style. And he actually still managed to end the session quickest, despite that huge moment. That's fantastic. But despite that, he still ends free practice 1 quickest. Great stuff from the Swiss driver. So make sure you join us 7:30 tomorrow morning. The race will get underway at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, so just under 24 hours will be the race. Free practice is at 7:30. Qualifying is then at about 9:45, and then we will have quite a big break in the hottest part of the day, and then the race will get underway in the evening. Nick Cassidy was looking quick in that first sector. He will fancy getting a good result for the first time this season, but it's Stoffel Van Dorn who holds the championship lead at the moment, and he'll be looking to still be in that place come the end of the Grand Prix tomorrow.